Did you know? Top scientists measured a massive 49% increase in concentric muscle strength and a significant drop in 10-meter sprint times for competitive ice hockey players after they used EMS for just 3 weeks.
I mean, 49%. That really challenges everything we assume about how long it takes to build explosive, game-changing power.
Right. It completely changes the timeline.
It does. And, the specific neural pathways required to get there
Yeah.
are just as surprising.
Exactly. So to understand how, a mere 36 minutes of weekly work can yield a near 50% strength increase, we have to look at a recent breakdown from some French sports scientists.
Right. The one published in Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise.
That's the one. It's the flagship journal of the American College of Sports Medicine. So our mission today is to unpack this study and explore how electromyostimulation, EMS for short, can give athletes a serious edge.
Which is super relevant for a lot of people listening.
Oh, absolutely. Whether you play ice hockey or participate in, any other explosive sport, this deep dive is tailor-made to help you understand a highly time-efficient tool for muscular development.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is that we won't just be looking at the raw numbers on a spreadsheet.
Because numbers are only half the story, right?
Exactly. We're going to explore the underlying why. Why does this specific intervention work on the neuromuscular system, and how does sending an electrical current into a muscle actually translate to real-world sports performance?
Okay, let's unpack this. So the researchers gathered a group of 17 competitive players from the French Ice Hockey Federation League Division II.
Right, a solid group of elite guys.
Yeah, and they split these athletes into 2 groups. 9 players got the EMS treatment on their knee extensors.
So the quadriceps muscles on the front of the thigh.
Yep, the quads. And the remaining 8 players acted as the control group. Now, both groups kept up their normal ice hockey training, so 3 practices and 1 game a week with the same coach.
So everything else stayed exactly the same for them.
Everything. The only variable changing was adding the EMS for those 9 players.
And it's crucial to look at the time investment here, because we are talking about just 12 minutes per session, 3 times a week.
For a total of 3 weeks.
That's practically nothing.
I know, 12 minutes a day, 3 times a week. That sounds like one of those late-night infomercials promising you a six-pack while you watch TV.
Yeah, it really does sound too good to be true.
How is this actually working on a physiological level? I mean, traditional strength training requires way more time under tension to see measurable results, right?
Right. It usually takes months. To understand why those 12 minutes are so potent, we have to talk about neural drive and a biological rule called Henneman's size principle.
Okay, Henneman's size principle. What is that?
Well, when you decide to move, your brain sends a signal, neural drive, down through your supraspinal centers to your muscles.
Let's pause there for a second. When you say supraspinal centers, we are talking about the regions in the brain, like the motor cortex, that originate the command, right? And then it travels down the spinal cord to the nerves.
Right, exactly. Those descending pathways carry the signal, but they do it following a very strict efficiency rule.
Which is the size principle thing.
You got it. Henneman's size principle dictates that your central nervous system will recruit the smallest, most fatigue-resistant motor units first.
Oh, so the slow twitch fibers.
Exactly. These innervate your slow twitch muscle fibers, which are highly efficient for endurance tasks like, maintaining your posture or a steady jog.
Because they don't burn a ton of energy.
Right. But if the physical demand increases, say you drop into a heavy squat, your brain realizes those slow twitch fibers aren't generating enough force. So it progressively recruits larger, more powerful motor units.
And those larger units control the fast twitch fibers, right?
Yeah.
The ones responsible for explosive power, sprinting, jumping, and aggressive physical contact in a hockey game.
Exactly the ones you need for hockey. But because they consume so much energy and fatigue so quickly, the brain is essentially holding them in reserve until absolutely necessary.
There's like a biological budgeting system.
That biological budgeting is deeply ingrained in us. But here is where the application of an external electrical current flips the script. Electromyostimulation actually bypasses Henneman's size principle entirely.
Wow, it reverses the biological order. But why? If the body is hardwired to use small fibers first, how does a pad on the skin force the big fibers to activate?
It basically comes down to the fundamental physics of electricity and human anatomy. The electrical current is applied externally over the skin, right? So it's stimulating the superficial motor nerves directly, rather than relying on a signal from the brain.
Okay, I follow.
And in physics, a larger diameter means lower electrical resistance. The nerve axons that supply your massive, powerful, fast-twitch fibers actually have a larger diameter than the nerves supplying the slow-twitch fibers.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah, so when you apply an external electrical field, those larger, fast-twitch nerves depolarize first because they offer the least resistance to the current.
That makes perfect sense. It's like having a manager in a company who normally gives all the daily tasks to the entry-level interns, and they only call in the senior executives if there's a massive crisis.
That's a great way to put it.
But the EMS is like a direct telephone line straight to the executives, forcing them to do the heavy lifting immediately, skipping the interns altogether.
A very apt analogy. You are overriding the manager and forcing those high-power, fast-twitch fibers to contract maximally from second one.
Which explains how they get so much done in 12 minutes.
Exactly. During these sessions, the players were seated in a leg extension machine, and the EMS delivered 30 contractions.
Okay.
Each one lasted 4 seconds at a frequency of 85 hertz, with 20 seconds of rest in between. And that 85 hertz frequency is specific. It's highly effective for tetanizing, which just means fully locking up and contracting those fast-twitch fibers.
Got it. And for you listening, it's really important to understand the biomechanical reason the scientists specifically chose to target the quadriceps here.
Yeah, it wasn't random.
Right. In ice hockey, when you are in that low gliding stance and you initiate a powerful skating thrust, it's the quadriceps that develop the largest contractile strength during the push-off phase.
They are doing all the heavy pushing.
Yeah, the hamstrings and calves are active, sure, but they primarily stabilize the knee and ankle joints. The quads are the primary engine for forward horizontal momentum on the ice.
So the researchers targeted the exact muscular engine responsible for explosive speed.
It's super smart.
It is. This wasn't some generalized full-body approach. It was a highly targeted, sport-specific intervention designed to maximize neural adaptations in the exact muscle group most critical to these athletes' success.
Okay, so if this electrical bypass forces the fast-twitch executives to do all the heavy work, the actual force output they generate must look completely different from a standard gym workout. Let's dig into the data.
Yeah, let's look at the numbers.
The researchers tested the player's leg strength using a Biodex isokinetic dynamometer. What exactly is that?
So the Biodex is basically the gold standard for measuring muscle torque in a biomechanics lab.
Okay.
It allows you to measure force while the joint moves at a strictly controlled, constant speed, which is what isokinetic means.
So you can't cheat the movement.
Right. It completely removes momentum from the equation, giving you a pure measurement of muscle force at specific velocities.
Well, the numbers after just 3 weeks are staggering. The EMS group saw their eccentric torque, the strength of the muscle while it's lengthening, like when you're absorbing force or decelerating into the boards jump by 37.1% at the faster testing speed.
In just 3 weeks, yeah.
And 24.2% at the slower speed. But their concentric torque, the strength while the muscle is actively shortening and pushing, climbed by 41.3% at 60 degrees per second.
That's already massive.
And it gets better. At 300 degrees per second, which mimics a very fast, explosive movement, their concentric torque went up by 49.2%.
Nearly a 50% increase in high-speed force production. It's phenomenal.
Wait, I need to challenge this, though. A 50% increase in strength in just 3 weeks. Usually, early strength gains in a traditional weightlifting program are purely neurological.
Right, exactly.
Like your brain just gets better at firing the muscle fibers synchronously. You aren't actually building new muscle tissue or adding significant mass that fast. So is this EMS just teaching the muscle a parlor trick, or is real hypertrophy happening here?
That is a critical distinction to make. 3 weeks is generally not enough time for significant hypertrophy, which is the physical growth of new sarcomeres and muscle tissue.
Okay, so they aren't just suddenly putting on huge leg mass.
No, you are entirely correct that these massive gains are almost exclusively neural adaptations.
Interesting.
The intense, repeated depolarization from the EMS teaches the nervous system to recruit a massive pool of fast-twitch motor units simultaneously. It enhances the firing rate and the synchronization of the motor units.
So they didn't get bigger, they got smarter.
Basically, yeah. So while they didn't necessarily build much larger legs in 21 days, their nervous systems learned how to access and unleash the power of the fast-twitch fibers they already possessed, but just weren't fully utilizing.
So they basically upgraded the software to get more out of the existing hardware.
Precisely. However, if we connect this to the bigger picture, Biodex machine strength means absolutely nothing if it doesn't translate to the sport.
Right, nobody plays hockey on a Biodex machine.
Exactly. There's a well-known concept in sports science called the transfer of training. Just because your quads can generate more force in an isolated seated lab test, well, that doesn't guarantee your central nervous system knows how to integrate that new power into a complex, coordinated movement like skating on ice.
Yes, skating is incredibly technical, so
Yeah.
the ultimate question is whether that isolated strength actually translated to the ice.
And did it.
The study measured sprint times using an infrared photoelectric system, and the data shows it did translate. The 10-meter skating sprint time for the EMS group dropped from an average of 2.18 seconds down to 2.07 seconds.
A drop of 0.11 seconds might seem negligible in everyday life, but in the context of a 10-meter explosive sprint, it is highly significant.
Oh, absolutely. I want to frame why you, as a listener and an athlete, should care about a tenth of a second.
It's the difference maker.
It really is. Think about the physics of a hockey game. In match-winning situations, like a breakaway, beating an icing call, winning a race to a loose puck in the corner, players can exceed a velocity of 8 meters per second after just 4 strides.
Of flying.
Right. The game is often won and lost in those first explosive steps from a dead stop. Shaving 0.11 seconds off those first 10 meters is a massive competitive advantage. It's literally the difference between getting a clean shot on goal and getting your stick tied up by a defender.
It defines the margin of elite performance, and what's equally telling is that their 30-meter sprint times did not change significantly compared to the control group.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the benefit was entirely front-loaded into that initial acceleration phase.
Which makes sense.
It aligns perfectly with the physiology of fast-twitch muscle fibers. They provide the initial explosive burst to overcome inertia, but they fatigue rapidly and do not contribute heavily to sustaining top-end maximal velocity over longer distances.
Well, here's where it gets really interesting, and this is the part of the data that initially seems like an error.
Oh, I know you're going to bring up.
Yeah. We just established that their quads got vastly stronger, their neural drive improved, and their horizontal acceleration on the ice got faster. But the researchers also put them through a battery of vertical jump tests.
Ah, the vertical jump paradox.
Yes. They tested a squat jump, a counter movement jump, and a drop jump. And despite those nearly 50% leg strength gains, the EMS group's vertical jump height actually decreased across the board.
They actually got worse at jumping.
Yeah, they lost about 2 to 3 centimeters on their jumps. How on earth does an athlete get faster on the ice with significantly more powerful quads but suddenly lose the ability to jump as high? Is it because they essentially installed a Ferrari engine in the legs, but the nervous system is still using like a Toyota transmission to try and jump vertically?
This raises an important question about neuroplasticity and how the central nervous system optimizes for specific physical tasks. Your analogy is very close, actually.
Really?
Yeah, it is one of the most brilliant demonstrations of the specificity of training in recent literature. We have to look at the context of what the athletes were doing while they were receiving the EMS treatments over those 3 weeks.
Right. They were playing hockey, doing speed skating workouts. They weren't doing jump training.
That is the key.
Yep.
The EMS dramatically improved their monoarticular performance, so the isolated strength of the knee extensors.
Just the quads in isolation.
Exactly. But a vertical jump is not a monoarticular movement. It is a highly complex multi-joint movement that requires the precise split-second coordination of the hips, the knees, the ankles, the core stabilization, and even the arm swing.
Oh, wow. So injecting a massively overpowered quad muscle into that delicate biomechanical chain doesn't automatically make the whole chain work better. It actually disrupts the timing.
It disrupts the established motor pattern entirely. Because the players were acquiring all this new, raw, fast twitch power, their central nervous systems needed to figure out how to integrate it.
Right. The brain has to make sense of the new power.
And because they were actively skating every single day, their nervous systems naturally optimized the use of that new muscle power for horizontal speed on the ice.
That is fascinating.
The brain essentially wired the new strength for the biomechanics of skating, ignoring the biomechanics of vertical leaping.
Because the brain is relentlessly practical. It recognizes the new power output, sees that the body is performing a horizontal pushing motion every single day on the rink, and it optimizes the neural pathways strictly for that horizontal movement.
Exactly. And the authors of the study note that previous research on volleyball and basketball players using the exact same EMS protocols did show significant improvements in vertical jump height.
Wait, really? The exact same EMS setup?
Yes. Why? Because those athletes were practicing jumping every day alongside the EMS. The physical context in which you train dictates how the brain utilizes the new strength.
Wow. So the major takeaway for you listening is that EMS is not a standalone magic bullet.
It's not a shortcut to everything.
No, you can't just sit on the couch, apply the pads, and expect to instantly become a better athlete in every dimension. You still require sport-specific training to tell your brain how to properly coordinate and execute that newly acquired raw muscle power.
Yep.
The strength is just raw potential until your specific sport training molds it into a usable skill.
It builds the capacity of the hardware, but your active sport practice is what updates the software to use it effectively.
Now, while their single maximal jump height went down, the researchers also put the players through a 15 consecutive jump test, known in the study as the 15J.
Which is a remarkably brutal test of lower body endurance and the stretch shortening cycle.
I can imagine.
You are essentially doing 15 maximal counter-movement jumps back-to-back with zero rest. It's exhausting.
And the data here revealed another twist. While the single jump height decreased during this grueling 15 jump test, the EMS group's overall power output actually increased by over 14%.
Right.
So what does this all mean? They can't jump as high on the first attempt because the coordination is off, but they are producing more sustained power over 15 repeated jumps.
It points to a significant improvement in what the researchers call the resistive capacities of the knee extensors,
Which means
which translates to fatigue resistance or muscular endurance. During a single maximal effort, the lack of jumping coordination held them back. But over the course of 15 repetitive, exhausting efforts, the sheer physiological upgrade to the fast-twitch fibers shined through.
I want to picture the physiology here. In the third period of a grueling hockey match, you're down by 1, there's 5 minutes left, your legs are burning with lactic acid, and you've been taking short, explosive shifts all night.
Well, technically, it's the accumulation of hydrogen ions dropping the pH in the muscle that causes the fatigue and burning, not the lactate itself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but yes, that notorious burning sensation is the exact environment where this matters.
Okay, I stand corrected on the chemistry, but the physical reality on the ice remains the same. When the muscle pH drops and the environment becomes acidic, force production plummets.
And that is precisely where the neural adaptations from the EMS provide a buffer. If your nervous system is vastly more efficient at recruiting fast-twitch motor units, it can cycle through those units more effectively as some begin to fatigue from the hydrogen ion accumulation.
Ah, so it has more reserves to call on.
Exactly. You can sustain a higher threshold of power output even as the local muscle environment becomes highly acidic and fatigued.
This means that the EMS isn't just giving you that critical first step speed in the opening minutes of the first period. It's actually building the muscular endurance required to maintain high performance, repetitive strides, and rapid direction changes under extreme fatigue toward the end of a long shift.
It helps you close out the game.
Yeah, that 14% increase in resistive capacity could literally be the difference between back-checking in time to break up a play or running out of gas and letting a forward slip past you for a game-winning goal.
When you synthesize the increased initial horizontal acceleration with this enhanced ability to resist fatigue over time, you can see why the researchers concluded that EMS is a highly useful, practical tool for competitive athletes.
It's incredible.
And perhaps the most compelling part for a coach balancing a tight schedule is the pure efficiency of the intervention.
Let's briefly recap our mission today, because that time efficiency is the central thesis. What we've unpacked is that just 3 weeks of 12-minute EMS sessions can drastically improve fast-twitch muscle recruitment, boost initial sprint speeds on the ice, and increase muscular endurance for ice hockey players.
And realistically, athletes in similar explosive sports, too.
Right. And they achieved all of this without interfering with their normal on-ice training load and without causing any injuries or overtraining symptoms.
It is a remarkable demonstration of applied neuromuscular science. And I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder, based on the broader implications discussed in this study.
Okay, let's hear it.
The players here only used basic isometric EMS. They were literally sitting perfectly still in a chair while the machine contracted their muscles.
Just sitting there letting the electricity do all the work.
Now, what would happen if athletes periodized their training and combined EMS with dynamic functional movements?
Oh, wow.
Imagine performing plyometrics or loaded jump squats while the EMS is actively forcing those massive fast-twitch fibers to fire. If sitting statically in a chair yielded a nearly 50% increase in concentric strength through neural adaptation,
Right.
how much further could we push the boundaries of human sports performance if we integrated the electrical stimulus with complex dynamic movement patterns?
It's a fascinating hypothesis. If the brain could learn the coordination of a jump while simultaneously experiencing the maximum recruitment from the EMS, the ceiling for this kind of technology might be vastly higher than what we explored today. If you want to stay ahead of the curve, make sure to follow Health Research Digest on Facebook for more health research papers that we reveal.
Just a quick disclaimer before we wrap up this deep dive. Our content is for informational and educational purpose only, not medical advices.
Keep pushing those boundaries, keep asking the right questions, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.